Well, it is Wednesday, April 30th. Today, what we're going to do is we are going to talk about and do a whole bunch of tapping around the ways that we get in our own way and sabotage our success with tapping. Well, welcome to Wednesdays with Gene. I am the eponymous Gene Montrastelli. We gather here live every single Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time to do some tapping, to talk about things that we can create transformation. We do it live, but we also have the replays on there. The entire archive is sitting on the YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, turn on notifications. So each time we do something like this, you are notified right away so you can join us for the fun conversation that we're having here today. Is sponsored by the Tapping Mastery Academy. That is my ongoing program where I help folks to move from knowing how to tap to actually doing it. We're going to be talking about how we get in our own way with all of that today. As always, before we jump in, what we're going to do is we're just going to take 90 seconds. We're going to do a little wordless tapping. Just move from tapping point to tapping point. Let your fingers do the walking and just feel your way into your system. And just be present, just notice, and just scan your body. And as we tap, if something comes up, jot it down. And for me, it's always really important when I'm scanning my body and I sit like this, I have a tendency to stop at my waist. So if you're going to scan your whole system, do your whole system. Oh, nice big stretch. Again, if anything came popping up inside of that, you want to jot that stuff down. If you're looking for a great way to track your progress when we're tapping, tappingtracker.com. I got a free tracker waiting there for you. We got a 30-day version, a 90-day version. We got PDF, we got Word version, so you can type right into it. So it makes it super, super easy for you to do that. Thanks to my friends in LA and Oregon saying hi in the chat box. Even if you're watching this after the fact, down in the comments down below, let me know where you are in the world. It's always good to kind of know where folks are. So before we jump in and we talk about the resistance that comes up and how we get in our own way, just a quick visit to the calendar. On Friday, for those in the Tapping Mastery Academy, we got office hours. Next Tuesday night, we are doing Art of Delivery on muscle testing and how do we add that into our tapping. We're going to be right here live Wednesdays with Gene. We're going to be back here next week talking about how do we create boundaries in a safe way. Next Thursday, we got a practitioner office hour. And then next Sunday, we're doing Art of Delivery, tapping, and muscle testing and how we combined those things. If you want to keep an eye on the calendar, if you go to events, tappingqa.com/events, easy way to do that. And if you would like to join us for any of those Tapping Mastery Academy things, tapping for muscle testing, office hour, stuff like that, tappingqa.com/TMA is a great way to get all of that information and come and join us as we work our way through it. Awesome. We got folks checking in from Central Florida and the Twin Cities. Thanks for saying hi. I'm glad you're here with us today. So, and I've mentioned this before, and I think it's good to say it out loud again. I hate asking my client the question, did you tap on that? And the reason why I hate asking that question, excuse me, is not because of the question itself, but instead because how the question is heard. Like one thing that's really important for us to remember is that this is an NLP presupposition. All communication is judged in the response. And that doesn't mean what is said, but communication is about what is understood. And when I ask the question, did you tap on that? If I were to ask that question, I don't ask it that way. But if I were to ask that question, that can feel really accusatory. Did you tap on that? Because my clients know how to tap and they know the value of tapping. And when I'm asking the question, did you tap on that? I'm asking a question of information. I'm trying to understand what has happened between the last session and our conversation today. And so I'm trying to gather information. And what my client is hearing is they're hearing scolding. Did you tap on that? Because we know we should tap more. Every single one of us knows that we should be tapping more. And I have a lot of sympathy for the fact that we're not tapping. Because when I'm asking that question, again, it's not a standard that I'm holding you to, but instead, I want to know what the process is like. Because there's a whole bunch of reasons that show up as to when we want to tap, why we don't tap. And looking at my little list here, making notes this morning, I have 7 of them that we're going to talk about here over the course of the next 20 or 30 minutes or so. What we're going to do is we're going to tap on each and every one of them. And as we step into this, it's important to remember, and actually the podcast that goes live today is all about resistance and dealing with resistance, is that like we think of resistance as a bad thing. Because almost always when we are talking about resistance, we are talking about resistance as something that is negative, that is holding us back. Because in a lot of cases, resistance is a bad thing because it's holding us back. But resistance itself is not a bad thing. You know, if I am on a horse and the horse is about to run off of a cliff and I pull the reins back and I create resistance for it to go forward, that is a really, really good thing. I have things that are literally called resistant bands. They're the giant rubber bands that have different tension to them that I use to strengthen my muscles, to help me to stretch my muscles so I am more flexible. So resistance isn't necessarily a bad thing. You know, when I have a good idea and I stop and go, okay, do I have everything in place before I step into it? That is resistance. So often as tappers and as transformational people, when we are thinking of resistance, we're almost always thinking of it as a negative thing. Because when we're tapping, I am resisting. And so for me, when I engage with resistance, and especially resistance around tapping, I want to approach it with a sense of curiosity. Why does my system think it is unsafe for me to tap? Because that's all resistance is. Resistance is just that thing that is trying to keep us safe. But the goal for us is to have a proportionate, well-informed emotional response. And resistance sometimes can be proportionate and well-informed. And sometimes it's not. This example. Years ago, I was signing up for a coaching program, a business coaching program. It was super, super expensive. It was at the time the most expensive piece of training other than my college degree that I had paid for. And it was a really, really good offer. And it was something that I knew would help my business. But I had 3 questions. And the questions were, can I afford it? Do I have enough time? And am I actually coachable? Because it was around stuff that I had experience with, and I was afraid that I was going to, I know how to do this, and I'm not going to do that sort of thing. And so each of those questions were resistance. Do I have time? Do I have money? Am I coachable? And so that resistance caused me to slow down and think to ensure that I wasn't rushing in and I was making a good decision as I was signing up. And so resistance is not bad. Disproportionate and misinformed resistance is super unuseful. That gets in the way of our progress. So what I want to do is, like I said, I want to talk about 7 different ways resistance can show up in our tapping and how we tap for those things. So way number 1 that resistance shows up when we're tapping is change is scary. Like on a subconscious level, change is scary because to the subconscious mind, predictable is manageable. Manageable means safe. Therefore, the subconscious mind says predictable equals safe, unpredictable equals unsafe. Except for the fact we've been in lots of circumstances where we have been facing with unpredictable things that served us super, super well, that we grew through, that we successfully moved through, that we did all sorts of stuff as we were engaging with it. And so we start just on a very basic level that and so this is what the subconscious mind thinks. If I sit down to tap, I'm going to clear the way for change, and change is really scary. So the easiest way for me not to have to face change is for me not to tap. Because if I don't tap, then I don't face change, then I don't face the unpredictable, therefore I am safe. Now, as I say all of that out loud, logically, we can see all the fallacies inside of it. But that's the place that the subconscious mind is working from. So I'll show you what tapping on that looks like. So we're going to tap for this fact that change is scary. Nice big deep breath. And just move from point to point. I recognize the fact, and do this out loud if you're in a place where it's safe and comfortable. There is a part of me that wants change, that wants growth, that wants evolution, that wants transformation. And at the exact same time, change is scary. And if I change, I'm going to face the unpredictable. If I change, it could go wrong. And so I appreciate my subconscious mind's resistance to change just wants me to be safe. Just wants me to be healthy. But I also recognize the fact it is safe for me to tap, because if I tap, that I'm going to approach change in a thoughtful, deliberate way. Nice big deep breath. Now, as we did that, if there was a tapping phrase that resonated with you deeply, do me a favor, drop that into the chat box so we can all see it. One of the things that we do every couple of months is we take the insights that we're tapping through and we do an entire session on insight tapping. One of the things that all the great insights that show up over my shoulder right here in our cute little mug over there in our cute little jar, I take all of your insights, I write them down, we draw them out and tap on them. So feel free to share any insight or phrase that resonated with you. It's like, oh, that's exactly what my soul needed to hear today as we're doing this tapping. Oh, and as you're typing that in, let's move on to the second one. So the second reason that we can resist change, therefore we resist tapping because tapping is going to lead to change, is because we are afraid of the judgment that is going to come from others because of our change. And that judgment could be that we think we're better than them. The judgment could be, how dare we? The judgment could be that we're going after something foolish. There's all sorts of version of judgment that can show up inside of that. And so we want to be in a circumstance where we recognize it is possible for us to change and do that in a safe way. In my primary work, I work from this framework that I called SAWD, Safe, Allowed, Worthy, Deserve. And those are the 4 reasons why we typically don't take action. And allowed is just a version of safety. But the version of safety that allowed is that it's unsafe because of how I'm going to be judged by others. I'm stepping outside of what people think is normative for me. So tap inside of the hand, take a nice big deep breath. And just move from point to point. I recognize the fact. One of the reasons why I am not tapping on this issue is there is a part of me that is afraid that if I tap on this issue, I'm actually going to take action. And if I take action, I'm going to change. And if I change, then the people around me are going to judge me. If I change, the people around me are going to see me differently. And I'm not going to fit their mold. And therefore, they're not going to like the change. And I'll no longer have a place to connect. I give myself permission to recognize the fact, even though people are going to judge and evaluate my change, it is safe. And I am allowed to change. Therefore, it is safe. And I'm allowed to tap for these issues. Nice deep breath. Big stretch. Move a little bit. Again, what was a phrase in there that just really resonated with you? What was something that was useful inside of that? People's reaction to our change can be scary. So third reason that we don't tap, because tapping creates change, is that sometimes the change that we're going to get is going to be failure. I'm going to clear resistance. I'm going to take action. I'm going to move forward. I am then going to fail. And so the easiest way for me not to fail is for me not to take action. Because if I don't take action, I can't fail. So tap on the side of the hand, take a nice big deep breath. And just move from point to point. I recognize the fact. I would like to tap more. Because tapping more will lead to action. But there is a part of me that is afraid. It is afraid that if I take action, it's going to go badly. And I'm going to fail. And failure is scary. And failure is painful. And so I appreciate the fact. My system doesn't want me to tap. Because if I tap, I will take more action, which will lead to more failure. I give myself permission to be gentle with myself, knowing it is safe for me to tap, to create space for me to take action, even if things might not work out perfectly. Because taking action is worth, and moving forward is worth things not having to be perfect. Nice, easy, deep breath. Big stretch, shake it off again, move around a little bit. And again, what did you notice? We got some fun stuff showing up here. My subconscious mind thinks the new is unpredictable, which is not safe. It's good for us to recognize that. If I change, I'm not going to fit other people's molds. Great. So what's a phrase or two that resonated with you from the fear of failure, or the way that we're presenting ourselves from tapping because of the fear of failure? Drop into the chat box so we can add that to the things we're going to tap on later. It's really interesting. Even though I'm not thinking into something specific and we're just talking about like the structure, just doing those 3 rounds of tapping around change and safety of change and the safety of even in the face of anger, I can feel an energizing. That I know that when we get done here, my rest of my day is going to be pretty productive because of the way we're moving into that. So the fourth reason that we prevent tapping or we avoid tapping is because we're afraid of success. That success can have as many scary things attached to it as failure, and sometimes they're really, really hidden and they're under the surface. So it's good that we're paying attention to it. You know, I could be successful and it's the new standard. I could be successful and I could lose it. I could be successful and people are going to expect me to be successful all the time in every single way. So tap on the side of the hand, take a nice big deep breath, and just move from point to point. I recognize the fact that one of the reasons why I don't tap, and one of the reasons why I don't do the work is there is a part of me that is actually afraid of success. Because if I'm successful, I'm going to raise the standards. If I'm successful, people are going to expect me to be successful all the time. If I'm successful, I might lose that success. And sometimes losing success is more painful than never having success. I give myself permission to know it is safe for me to be successful. I give myself permission to know I'm allowed to be successful. I give myself permission to tap more. Because I can and I will be able to handle and manage success. Nice deep breath. Big stretch. What resonated in there? What's a phrase that you need to hear? I love the fact that we're around a 2 behind, but we're getting some great stuff here. Other phrases that we need to hear. Action and moving forward is worth some of the pain. I'm giving myself space, giving myself permission to have space to fail. Those are great insights. What else is bubbling up as we're working our way through this that your soul needs to be here and that we need to come back to and tap on again and again? Oh, so there are 3 other reasons why, just having them bubble to my surface, I was thinking about this, why we don't tap. And I'm actually going to take reason 5 and reason 6 and knit them together into a single round of tapping. So reason 5 is there's a part of us that feels like we have to tap exactly right. Because there's a part of us that just wants to do everything right. And it's scary for us not to do everything right. The second part of that, which is kind of the same thing and not the same thing, is sometimes when we sit down to tap, we feel like we need to have the plan to work our way all the way through and know exactly everything that we're going to tap on before we start. And the reality is, one, there's no right way to tap. There's useful tapping and there's unuseful tapping. And sometimes when I tap on the things that aren't resonating, that's useful because it sends me in the direction of what is resonating. And for me, and this is really, really key, and you're going to tap so much more often if you're able to embrace this. Well, at least I tap so much more often because I embrace this. I don't know if it's going to work for you in the exact same way. But when I am tapping, when I start to tap, I am just looking for an entryway, I'm just looking for a starting point. Like the way I like to think about it is the root cause of the issue is hidden somewhere inside of a house. And I'm standing outside the house. And I don't need to know where the root cause is hiding inside of the house. The first thing I need to do is I just need to get into the house. And maybe I'll go through a door, and maybe I'll climb in a window, and maybe I'll come down the chimney, or maybe I'll Kool-Aid my man way through a wall and just burst in screaming, "Oh yeah." But all that matters is that I'm starting and I'm getting inside. And so by liberating myself from having to get tapping right because I don't want it to fail, and liberating myself from having to have a clear path, because all I need is the first step, because when I take the first step, then the second step becomes available. I'm now in the living room. I'm going to investigate in this way, to go back to our analogy. And so for me, I just need to start. And I don't have to be perfect in doing it because it's going to unfold. Tap on the side of the hand, take a nice big deep breath with me. There is a resistance to tapping inside of me, because there is a part of me that wants to make sure that I'm going to be safe. And the way that I'm going to be safe is if I do everything exactly right. The reality is, there is no exact right way to tap. There are only phrases that are useful and unuseful. And phrases that are unuseful become useful because they port me towards what is actually useful. I give myself permission to recognize that I am allowed to just start tapping. Even if I'm confused. Even if I don't know where to begin. Even if I don't know what to say. Even if I don't know what the root cause is. I give myself permission to be gentle with myself. Knowing that as I begin, the useful path will unfold. I don't have to get it exactly right. I don't have to have all the answers. Because when I start, the path to useful will unfold in front of me. Nice, easy, deep breath. Just let that settle in. Again, what's bubbling up? What did you hear inside of that is useful for you as we engage with this and as we move forward? Some of the previous stuff that's popping up. That phrase, losing success can be more painful than never experiencing success. Good thing for us to recognize. I give myself permission to be successful. I can handle success. I can and I will be successful. Awesomeness. So, again, that last round, getting it right, doing it right, having a plan. What were the phrases? What were the things that resonated with you inside of that? What's the stuff that's useful there? Okay, number 7. Last reason why. And this is not a comprehensive list, but the list I've been working off of. And this actually came from a client of mine, because this isn't something I've experienced, but I think it's good for us to recognize it. We were getting ready to tap on something really big. And there was obvious resistance to us doing tapping. And so I just had her tune in to kind of figure out what was going on. And in a moment of just absolutely amazing honesty and clarity, she said, Tapping is my last hope. And if I tap on this and it doesn't work, then I lose hope, as well as being stuck here forever. Wow. Like that is such a powerful insight and fear when we're facing transformation. Tapping the side of the hand. Nice big deep breath. One of the reasons why I can navigate my day and my life is because there is a part of me that believes in and is connected to wanting something better. And I give myself permission to know it is possible for me to try and not have things work out perfectly and still have more opportunity, still have more options, still have more hope. And I give myself permission to know it is safe for me to hope. I am allowed to hope for better. I am worthy of hoping for better. And I deserve to hope for better. It is safe for me to tap right now. Nice, easy, deep breath. Again, I'd be interested to see how that lands with you. Not everybody experiences this, but when we lean into it, it's interesting to see that it is there. It's so funny. The tapping that we have been talking about here is tapping on the implicit, explicit, the big, the small resistance that we have to tapping, or the way that we have to tapping more. And there have been lots of times where I have people who won't tap, but they'll tap on whether or not they believe on tapping working. There are times in which I won't tap, but I can tap on my resistance to tapping. The subconscious mind is so weird. Our minds are so weird. Humans are so weird. But it's the truth that if you're feeling stuck, tap on the fact that you're stuck about tapping. If you're not tapping enough, tap on the fact that you're not tapping on what's going on. So again, let me look at my little list here. What we talked about, 7 reasons why we can resist tapping that we can tap on. 1, change is scary. We're not going to tap because we're afraid of change. 2, the way people are going to react to our change is scary. So we don't tap, so we don't change. 3, if I tap, I'm going to take action. I'm going to fail. That's scary. Number 4, if I tap, I'm going to be successful. That can be scary. Number 5, when I tap, I have to do it right. And there's a part of me that doesn't want to get it wrong. 6, when I tap, there's a part of me that wants to have the entire tapping session laid out before I begin, and I'm not going to start until I have the perfect plan. And number 7, if I lose hope, if this doesn't work and I lose hope, then there is nothing left. If any of those 7 things are true, it makes perfect sense why we don't take action, why we don't move forward. Again, the reins being pulled back on the horse. Resistance isn't bad. Resistance is just trying to keep us safe. The question is the resistance we're experiencing proportionate and well-informed? And the beautiful thing about this is doing this tapping is not going to make you tap in an unsafe way. Doing this tapping is going to help you to have clarity about whether or not it is safe for you to move forward in that way. So those are a whole bunch of fun ways that we can tap on. Again, tap on the fact that you're not tapping as much as you would like to tap is a great way for you to tap, because tapping like that is super, super awesome. So awesomeness. Okay, great. A couple of footnotes. Let's just kind of dive in there. As a remember, tappingpodcast.com. Go there right now. Episode 660, if you're watching us live, episode 660 is going live in 24 minutes, 25 minutes from now. A bunch of other resistance type tapping. Number two, if you'd like to join us in the Art of Delivery muscle testing for tappers, it is going to be such an awesome, awesome class. We're going to be doing that May 6th in the evening at 7:30. We're going to be doing it May 11th. Saturday afternoon at 12 noon. If you'd like to join us and get access to the office hours and get access to 3.5 years of archives of Art of Delivery, the Tapping Mastery Blueprint, there's so much stuff waiting there for you. I'd love for you to join that fun little community. It's been super, super cool over the course of the last couple of months, watching that community grow up and watching the community take care of each other and not just learn from me. tappingqa.com/TMA for more information about that. If you get questions about that, you can always drop me a note at support@tappingqa.com. I get all of those emails. I would love to hear from you. Again, we're going to be back here next Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Please invite a friend to come along and join us or watch after the fact. We always joke about the fact, but it's true. Our marketing budget is your word of mouth. There might be someone in your life who would like to join us and tap along with us. And if you're watching the recording after the fact, we now have a replay with the entire history of these lives. This is episode 20. Go back, dive in, tap along with us in previous weeks, and I will see you guys again next Wednesday. Have an awesome day. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Bye-bye.